I hope everyone got that very friendly note that the recording is in progress. So XHIBIT, I kept mentioning this, and for anyone who doesn't know what this is, and there may be some XHIBIT artists in the room with us today, XHIBIT was originally founded in 1997 by Chelsea graduates Kit Hammonds and Angela Robinson. It was an open call exhibition created by students and for students too, of any year, of any discipline, to come together and showcase their work outside of their university degrees. It's created a crucial legacy project, a little bit like Made in Arts London. It sits as the longest running open call exhibition open to UAL students. This particular event started in 2020 with the help of APT Gallery, who are known for nurturing emerging talents, an ethos that's really close to what we do at UAL and what we do at XHIBIT. Unfortunately, last year, because of the pandemic, we had to keep pausing the physical exhibition, and to stop it continuing on, we took the decision to go digital. So the link that you will have seen in the chat, XHIBIT 2020, is the result of that. That was built by B, like I mentioned, and two other curators who are hosting our next event, which I'll tell you more about later. To make sure we didn't lose momentum, we decided to go for 3 weeks to keep the exhibition open and have a series of events. We started off with our private view on the 3rd of June, where we welcomed Bittersweet to run through a multi-sensory experience that was created during lockdown. It was a huge success, and it really grounded people at a time when connection, artistry, creativity, and a bunch of other things were quashed for us. So that's it. That's XHIBIT in a bit of a nutshell. We do have links on our website, so you can absolutely find out more. And there is just a little bit of a brief history on the screen there for you. As you can see on the screen, these are our selected artists. There were 30 in total. We will have some of them joining us for our artists panel in a couple of days' time on the 17th. The Arts SU. I don't know how many of you know about the Arts SU, but I will just go through a little bit of who we are and what we do. The Students' Union here is aimed to support you to make the most out of your experiences during your university careers, to network, to learn skills, to make friends, to meet people who are outside of your current networks and your current degrees and your current courses. We're here to help you provide tools for your sustainable creative career, and sustainability is something that we really value. That's not just being able to do it for a long time, but be paid well and understand what the climate looks like, and hopefully give you what you need to understand what it looks like as you venture off. On our What's On page, on the Arts SU website, you will see a bunch of events, from sporting activities, creative activities, and also the arts program activities that this is part of. We'll put a link to that in the chat a little bit later on, so you can have a look at what's there. We have a variety of ways that we interact with our students. We have creative callouts, we have partnerships, we have year-round development programs, and we have XHIBIT and Made in Arts London, which are our legacy projects. Made in Arts London is an opportunity for any student to sell their work online, and XHIBIT, like I mentioned, is the longest running open call exhibition for UAL students. That is absolutely enough from me. I am very pleased to hand over to B. Taylor Sell, who created our XHIBIT website and will be leading you through how to make your own website so you can stand out and, yeah, make a splash. B, I will hand over to you. And that's it.
I shall share my screen. Sorry. Cool. So, how to build a website. Hello, I'm B. I've recently graduated from CSM. it took me 5 years as I decided to do a diploma in professional studies and a diploma in creative computing in between my second and third year. I coded the XHIBIT 2020 website, which you can see in the screenshot here. In my own personal practice, I make performative websites and explore the internet in the domestic space. I'm currently working on the Pause or Pay sort of graduation website. So we're doing another sort of exhibition website there. But something I'd want to point out for everyone is that I am not an expert. I just really enjoy building websites. So I just want to clear the air out straight away that you don't need to be an expert to make a website. Excellent. So we're going to cover a few bits and bobs. We're definitely going to cover HTML. We're going to cover CSS, briefly touch on JavaScript. Then I was thinking of hopefully having a break in between. And then we're going to jump into GitHub and GitHub pages, which is where we're going to make your websites live. So the aim of today's session is by the end of the workshop, you should have a simple portfolio website set up and running. So I've got a quick checklist. Does everybody have a code editor? You can put thumbs up or smiley faces or comments in the chat. Anything would be very helpful. I'll take it that you've all got a code editor. Does everybody have the files I sent over to help build the website? Again, thumbs up, a smiley face in the chat. Anything that shows signs that you've received these would be great. And the very final one is that you'll need a command line interface, but I do recommend for this session to have GitHub desktops. I'm hoping that everybody managed to see that email that was sent out earlier on, and you've got what we need in our checklist, because otherwise you might struggle slightly with this workshop. Cool. So
just to let you know, a few people don't have it. For those people who don't have it, you can check your email that was sent earlier today, and there are some attachments and a WeTransfer link. There were 2 emails sent, one with a WeTransfer link and one afterwards at around 3 o'clock with some icons in it. I can drop some stuff into the chat as well if you'd like.
Wonderful. I mean, for the people who don't have, yeah, I mean, it should be in your emails, but we can make it work, which will be fine. Anyway, going back to what is HTML. So HTML is pretty much the foundation of all web pages. Each web page that you'll be going on. So this is a website I've built on Google Chrome. It's quite good. If you go on more tools, developer tools, you can steal people's code, and that is HTML, as you can see here. So HTML is the foundation of all websites. There are some websites that are done without it, but we're not going to get into that. So we start off with a doc type, and we tell the computer that we're going to write an HTML. HTML does have different languages, so we're just going to explain that it's in English. So our first exercise is to look at the files that I've sent over, and don't worry if you don't have them. I'm going to share the file that I'd like you to look at, which is this one here. Again, smiley face or some way of knowing that you can see it. And I'm going to give you 5 minutes to have a look through this bit of code And then we're going to have like a 2 to 5 minute discussion on what you think each element means. I'm just going to scroll down because this is the more important bit. So I'll give you, 2 minutes to have a look through, and then we can have a bit of a discussion. If you already want to bring stuff up or questions, please do. Okay, so Esme, do you have Visual Studio Code?
Hi, I can turn my mic on. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think so. I mean, I don't really know that much about it, but I tried to download it.
Yeah.
So should I open that first?
Yeah. So if you open Visual Studio and put all of your files in a folder. So I'm sharing all of my screeners so that you can have an idea of
Okay.
So this is my workshop folder. So these are the, you shouldn't have the PowerPoint, but you should have pretty much everything else. If you keep everything in that folder, when you open Visual Studio, you can click File, Open Folder. Just open the folder with everything that's in there. So you might call the folder Website Workshop, and you've got your index, about, contact, and style sheet. You click open folder, so I keep it in workshop.
Okay.
And I select that folder, and then I've got everything here.
Okay.
So when I open my index, I've got it in front of me.
Just to let you know, all of the files are individually in the chat, so you can refer to them by their name as well. I'm sorry, everyone, it's not in a condensed folder, but hopefully this will work as well. B, let me know if you want me to email everyone the full folder.
But Esme, does that solve?
I think it should be fine. Yeah, I got it now. Thank you.
No worries. Excellent. So the reason we're doing this exercise is because both HTML and CSS are built in a way that are quite intuitive. And so I'd love to hear if you've got a feeling of how this website might look like, or if there's anything that's you're not sure about. Yeah, flex does mean flexible. So in CSS, there's a thing called the flex box. And flexbox, okay, Deepra, do you have the files? Avni's just posted all of the files in the chat. So you need to download index.html, contact.html, about.html, style sheet.css. Yeah, you've got everything in a folder. Okay, so create a folder on your desktop, put all of those files in your folder, and once they're all in your folder, click File, Open Folder, and then you select your folder where you've put all these files in. Click, for me, my folder is called Workshop. Select folder, and you've got an explorer, so you can then click on the file you need. But yes, say flex does mean flexible. Flex is very handy to make websites responsive. It's something to do with CSS, which we'll go into in more details very soon. Right, does anyone else have any comments or? Avni, would you? Perfect, thank you. I'll just keep on going with the presentation. Sweet. So we've just seen the index file. So the way HTML works, it works with tags and elements. So tags are, on this page, you've got HTML as a tag, head is a tag, title is a tag, H1 is a tag, P is a tag, and an element is the tags plus what's in between your tag. So it also works as a family tree. So let's think of HTML as the grandfather, head becomes a parent, and title becomes a child. And this concept will be quite important when going into the CSS. Again, looking at this diagram, you need to think of the HTML box as your browser, the head as where there's your URL or where you keep your tabs. So the title becomes the title of your tab. The body is everything that's shown in the browser space, in the sort of the canvas per se. And then you've got H1, which stands for header, and P, which stands for paragraph. Now, headers, we've got 6 different types of headers. H1 is the biggest and H6 is the smallest. Any questions so far? Excellent. We'll move forward. Cool. So here's what is for the header. So it's basically to allow for spacing. So say like in a newspaper, your front page of a newspaper, you've got the H1 header would be like everybody's been vaccinated, and then you've got subheaders which are smaller, and then you've got subheaders which are even smaller, and so it helps you divide the web page. So that's why it goes from H1 to H6. Now, I've never gone that far. I usually stick between H1 and H3, but it might be something you want to test. So here's some examples of tags, and I wanted to ask you guys to guess what some of these mean. So we've gone through that P means paragraph, that H1 is a header, and that body is like the canvas. So can you guys guess what? Yep, that's great. Thank you, Mia. And what does div stand for? Division, yeah. Perfect. Division, funny enough, is one of the most used tags in HTML. So you know. And then we've got the last two, which are the trickier ones. So you're close with line. It's not line. Think of when you go shopping, you might write something. Yes. So LI is for list and BR is for break. Excellent. So moving forward, tags can have attributes. So if I go back, you see how you've got an opening tag and a closing tag. In your opening tag, in your brackets, you can have attributes, and attributes are quite helpful because they make the tag more unique to your project. So attributes are usually composed of a name and a value. So an href is a way to link something. So you'll say the name of it is, you might have, yeah, you want to link your portfolio to your page. And so you've got your URL. Source would be used in your image tag. So if I go back, you'd have open bracket, image, space, source, open the speech marks, link where your photo is, close it and close everything. And that's how you would link a photo. Alt is quite important at the moment because alt means that if your photo hasn't loaded properly on your website, it gives the viewer still the opportunity to know what that photo was. So here I put a generic sort of a photo of a lady smiling, but alt text is being used more and more at the moment for accessibilities on websites. We've also got style, and this kind of enters the CSS realm, and we'll cover that more in detail later. ID and class, again, relate to this hierarchy, this family that we were talking about before. So HTML being the grandfather, head being the parent, and title. So again, we'll go this through a bit more later. And title basically means, you know, when you're on a website and you hover an image and there's a little pop-up text, that's the title. So these are types of attributes you can have. Here's some HTML resources. I'm going to send you the presentation over afterwards. Right, which brings us to CSS. This is the aspect that makes the website pretty and responsive. It's a rule-based language, which makes it quite straightforward. So you've got properties and values, and that's about it. So if we have a look at the styles sheet.css, we can have a guess at what's going on. And like before, I'm going to share my screen and show you part of the CSS, which is this. And I have put some comments in so that you guys know what's going on. But if there's any comments or sort of anything you've noticed that's different from one line to another, or for instance, what do you think this might mean, this at media? That's fine. That basically means it checks what size screen you're using, and that's what makes it responsive. So you know how you might be watching a website desktop version is different from a mobile version, and that's a way you can do it. No, so with both HTML and CSS, there's never any space, especially when we'll go through adding images. When you add images, try to be aware of how you name your files. So I'm just going to put an example in the chat now. So your computer will allow you to JPEG, save a photograph like this with spaces. Don't do that. Terrible practice. Do this. Otherwise it will break. So thank you, Mia, for bringing that point up. Then there's other things that can have a space. So the reason this has a space is because flex flow can have more than one value. So one of its values column, the other value is wrap. For instance, you can see with justify content, you've got hyphens going around because it can only have the one value. But what I wanted to show you with CSS, if I go in my index, because you need to link the two. So I've got, this is where you link your style sheet. If I comment this out, so I'll show you what the website's looking like at the moment. This is our website with the style sheet. And this is our website without the style sheet. So basically what I'm trying to say is you can have a website with just HTML knowledge, but HTML will format things like this. It won't make things pretty. You need CSS I suppose we're all creative students, so to make things prettier. Excellent. Any questions so far? Cool. So you remember those HTML attributes we were talking about back here, where I mentioned the ID and class and family hierarchies. So there is a hierarchy of specificity. So you can be more specific with a tag, or you can be less specific. So a tag is just, for instance, when you open an H1 tag or a P tag, that's not specific at all. You can have a class. In the class, you might be using it. So rule of thumb, you want to keep one style sheet for project, but you might have more than one HTML file, but you want to link them all to that. You might have a class for the different pages. So you can have a class for your about page or your contact page. ID is extremely specific to only that one thing. So when we're going back to the parent-child sort of relationship that I mentioned earlier on, the parent usually rules over the child, but if the parent has a class and the child has an ID, the ID will overrule the class. Is that concept clear to everybody? Excellent. And fundamentally, CSS is all about declarations. So in this image here, you've just got it's one of the ways CSS works. So let's say you've got an image or a photograph of your artwork. That's where the width and height bit is. Then you can have padding around it, which basically means the space in between another picture. Then you've got a border, and then you've got a margin, and all of these things are properties. So the margin's a property, the border's a property, the padding's a property, the width is a property, the height is a property, and these are all things that you can change the value. You can change the value to say, you know, your image is 500 pixels by 500 pixels, and so you can set the width and the height to those. Great, but it means that it's not responsive. So to make it responsive, you can change the width to a percentage. So it takes the percentage. So you say, make my image 20% of the width of the screen. So if you say width 20%, it will automatically do that for you. And I'll show you this in the CSS file that we've got. Here's some CSS resources. Luckily, it's quite straightforward, but as I said, unfortunately, it's a quick sort of workshop. And you can email me at any time, and I'm very happy to help. JavaScript, we're just going to touch JavaScript because we don't have a JavaScript file. We're not going to use one, but fundamentally what JavaScript does is makes things interactive. It is one of the most used coding languages in the world. It's an object-oriented language. So you might have heard stuff like generative art or using Google Map libraries. If you want to learn more, I highly recommend looking at Daniel Schiffman's p5.js tutorial. So because JavaScript is such a big language, people have made many little libraries to make it more specific for what you're doing. So P5 is great to make generative art. So making up using algorithms or using loops. There's other libraries like leaflet.js, which is used to build maps, or you've got babylon.js, which is used to make more sort of 3D render games for online use. Any questions so far? Excellent. So, cool. So this is the part of the workshop which becomes actually interactive. So has everyone set up a GitHub account? Thumbs up or yes, yes. Wonderful. So we're going to do a bit of copy me situation. So if you could please go to GitHub. Oh. So this is what my GitHub looks like. Yours shouldn't look that much different. And then our first step is going to be clicking this plus sign and saying we want a new repository. And you should be on this page. So you can call your repository whatever you want, but to make it live, so I'm going, for purpose of workshop, I'm going to say website workshop.github.io. This bit here you have to have. You can choose to name this whatever you want, but you must have the .github.io at the end. Has anyone got any questions or is stuck, or can I help, or can we move on? So a repository is where all of your files are going to be kept. If you get a chance after this workshop, I would highly recommend, I sent 2 links to know what Git and GitHub are. It's basically, you know, the easiest way of describing it, you're writing an essay and you've got a first draft, a second draft, a third draft, and you've got all of these files saved. What is great about GitHub is that it saves your changes so that you don't have 3 different files. You can kind of work your history out, which is brilliant. Does that answer your question, Deepa? Excellent. And the repository name is basically like a folder name, fundamentally. So we're all at the same stage. Could I just use my name.git? Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. You could call it myportfolio.github.io. So to give you an idea of what's going on here as well, you need to keep it public to make it live. A README file is basically a file to let other people know what is going on with your code. We don't need one right now. A git ignore is when you make more complicated coding projects where you might have some really heavy files and you don't want them stored in your repository. A license, some websites have licenses, just like copyright with creative practices. Anyway, if once you've done your repository name, we just need to click create repository. So we get to this page, and has everybody downloaded GitHub Desktop? Because the next step is going to click this button here, set up in desktop. Yeah, cool. So I'm going to move forward and click set up in desktop. The great thing is, if you haven't downloaded GitHub Desktop, it will ask you to download it if you click that button. So I'm going to click open GitHub Desktop and choose a place where I want my website workshop to go. So I've got a folder on my desktop, which, so if I click desktop, I've got a folder called websites, which is kind of where I put all of my repositories when I'm trying to be nice and neat. So I'm just going to say I want to save it here. Excellent. And I'm going to click clone. Okay, we all at the same, I did, but it still isn't opening the desktop app. Have you did you download it and install it, or did you just download it? Yeah, it's installed. Isn't opening the desktop app. Are you using Chrome? Could it be that, because it might be that you need to allow the pop-ups or redirects? Yes. Okay. Have you tried opening GitHub Desktop on your machine? It's open. Okay, so you've clicked set in desktop. Okay, well, we can do it another. Are you logged in to your GitHub Desktop? Okay, that might be the issue. So try to log in, which you should be able to do. It should ask you when you open it. I haven't logged in a while because it's just logged into mine. So if you try to log in and then on the website, click the set up in desktop. I'm just going to move forward quickly, and I'll get back to you if we still haven't managed to solve that, if that works for you. Okay, so everybody else all at, fantastic. Everybody else at the same stage, we've all got a repository which is linked to our on the web and locally. Yeah. Because our next step is going to be, so here I've got my workshop folder. I want to open GitHub desktop will have created a new folder, which is empty at the moment, okay? So I'm going to copy and paste the assets that I've sent you. Does that make sense? So I'm doing copy and paste. I've also got this assets folder, which I'd like you to add. So let's do a new folder, call it assets. All lowercase is great. Inside my assets folder, you don't need this Photoshop one, but you will need this email, Facebook, Instagram, and phone, which Avni has kindly put in the chat. And those files there will go in the assets. So we're starting to link everything together. Okay, so this is how your folder should be looking like. I'm going to close that one. You've got assets, about, contact, index, and a style sheet. Thumbs up. Where is this folder located? You should have, yeah, the GitHub folder. So you see, so my folder's called website workshop.github.io. So when you cloned, you know, when we clicked clone, when we click set up in desktop, open GitHub, it's already set up for me basically, but it would have asked you where to locate your folder, and I've got a websites folder on my desktop where I keep my GitHub pages in.
Just to let everyone know, although B's referring to a folder, all of the files have been separately sent in the chat. So that might be this is confusing people a little bit. So all of the files that B has, as you can see on her screen, are all individually in the chat. So you can put them all into a folder and then upload them, or maybe B just put them in individually via your downloads, for example.
Yeah. So you're basically at this stage, you should have an empty folder with the repository name that you created on GitHub. And then you should have these files. You can add these files in your folder. How do I get this repository folder? When you clicked from this page here, when you click set up in desktop, it will open the GitHub desktop application on your computer. And from here, it should have asked you where it should save the folder. Yes, which is fine. Not sure which one. You don't need to click anything. You just need to find where you saved your folder. So what's the name of your folders? Is it something like deepra.github.io? Yeah, okay. So once you found your folder, you just need to insert these files, which you can find in the chat in your folder, because then this is where the sort of magic happens. So
I have a question. How did you get to this code? Like, I'm on that page which says no local changes and is asking me to select one, like open the repository in your external editor or view the files in Explore.
You're asking me how my page looks like this?
Yeah, like you clicked something and then the code appeared.
Okay, no, I didn't click anything. All I did, I put these folders in my, I put these files in my folder.
Okay.
So these here, so you see about HTML, assets. So this is all the what's inside the assets folder. As you can see here, email.png, facebook.png, instagram.png, phone, okay? And then if I go back into the folder, I've got a contact HTML, which is here, an index HTML, and a style sheet just here. Does that help? Are we all roughly in the same place? Yes, fantastic. So, as you can see here, what's great about GitHub is it says changes. There's been 8 changes, and these changes are because you've added files into your folder. So it's recognized something's changed. So let's tell it what it's changed. So we're going to say that added files for workshop, or you can say added files for portfolio, or it might be, so I use, you have to add this comment section. Everybody found the comment section just below your changes? Because I'm not aware if you can see my mouse or not, or see me typing. But basically, this comment section is super helpful when you get more and more into coding, because you can write, oh, I fixed this bug, or I added this image, and it basically tracks your updates. So we're going to say, we're going to commit to these changes. And so we click commit. Okay. Then it looks as if everything's disappeared. No worries, nothing has disappeared. We just need to publish up here. So if you click publish branch, basically what's happening there, it's having a conversation with our repository on the internet. So if we go back to our repository on the internet, you should be able to refresh your page, and ta-da, your files are in the page. Are we all at the same spot? Has everybody managed to? Wonderful. Okay, this is where the website's going to go live. So we're going to go to settings. Down on your left, you've got this nice little menu, and we want to click on pages. In pages, we do have a source. Our source is the main branch. So you can branch things off. I'm not going to go into that at the moment, but if it's something of interest, I would research it. You can have like an update branch and a main branch, and then you can merge the two, but we'll go into it another day. Anyway, so you want to click save, and ta-da, your site is ready to be published at this. It won't be published straight away. As you can see, it gives us a 404 message. It takes about a minute, so we're just going to be patient. And if there's any questions, no questions. Cool. Ah, here we go. Sorry, could you show that last bit again, please? Can you do it again? Can you repeat what you did after clicking my head? Okay, so if I go back to my repository, so this is, I'm assuming this is what everybody's seeing. You want to click on settings, which is just, you've got your menu bar, and it's just the furthest on the right. So once you've clicked settings, you scroll down, you've got your menu here on the left. you scroll down and you get to pages. Click on pages. And then here, you won't have this message here. You'll have source and it'll say none. You want to click main. You want to have main checked. And then you'll want to click save. Is everybody up to speed? Or am I going too quickly? Yeah, everybody good? Yes, that's fine that it says 404 because we just need to give it like 2 minutes because you saw my screen said 404, but now, ta-da, we're live. So I'm hoping that you guys, if you click this, you should have a live website that's, yeah, kind of functioning. And now we get to edit it all together so that everybody can have their own thing. So I'm just going to double check with everybody that you've all got it live. Everyone is happy because we're going to return to Visual Studio Code. And for this last half an hour, we're going to personalize our portfolios. Yeah. I'm still behind. How did you get to the page where you had the settings? Okay, so let's go back to GitHub. Okay. Mia, on what page are you at? This web page. Wait, what? Are you here, Mia? Is this the page you're on? No, back a step. On GitHub desktop. Yes. Okay. So did you do you still have changes here or did you click commit to main?
Sorry, yeah, I did commit to main, but mine still looks like that where it says no local changes.
Okay, so up here, does it say push?
Push.
So you've got current branch. It's the button next to current branch here, which I've got fetch origin at the moment.
Yeah, I've got fetch origin at the top, but I don't have push.
Okay, have you refreshed your page online?
I think I'm not quite sure it's opened it.
No. You should be on your GitHub repository like this, like you can see on my screen. Just refresh it.
Okay.
And you should have these folders in your repository now.
I think it's because it's opened it in Safari, not in Chrome. I'm getting confused.
I mean, Safari should work as well. Yeah. So it opened Safari once you clicked push.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
But it still doesn't look like that. It says I've added files, but what's yours looking like? I'll keep searching. Sorry, you carry on. I'm keeping it.
No, it sounds right because you said it says added files for your folder. Yeah.
Yeah, and sorry, and then I need to press settings and then
Yeah. You go on settings, pages, correct? And then you just need to change the source. So you want the source to be in main. And then you want to click save. If you click straight away on the URL link it's going to give you a 404 message. It's just because it takes about 30 seconds to kind of figure out what's going on.
I've got it. Thank you. I'm there.
Yeah.
I've got it. Thank you very much. Sorry.
Fantastic. No worries at all. I just want everybody to be up at speed because otherwise falling behind in these things, it's difficult to catch up. Right. So we're going back to Visual Studio and we are going to do a file open folder and find our GitHub folder. So I've got mine here, which is my website workshop.github.io folder, okay? Is everybody with me? And I'm just going to click select folder. So you should have pretty much nothing in this. Yes, fantastic. So we're going to start off with the index. So if you're on Visual Studio Code, this is my own practice. It might work for some, it doesn't for everybody, but I like to have two screens open. It's basically one screen here, my index, tells me what my content is, and my style sheet tells me how I'm styling things. So our first step is changing the name here, where there's written your name here. If you go back onto the website, you see it's here in the title. So that's basically going to change. You can change it to whatever you want. It could be your name, portfolio, or whatever you're going to use this website for. So I'm going to call it website workshop. And I'm going to save that. Then I might say you can say welcome to my portfolio. So I'm hoping that you have roughly 3 images that you might want to use in this portfolio. At least, I mean, I've put the possibility of having 18. I mean, 18 is quite a lot, but I think for mine, I'm going to stick with 3. So I'm going to choose 3 images that I had ready. And I'm just going to copy these. So it's 1, 2, 3, copy. And I want to paste these in my assets folder here. Now, as I said before, these are kind of terrible file names. So I'm just going to rename them to make it easier. I know what I'm working with, basically. Excellent. So, as you can see here, we've got lists, but we might not want lists. We might want images because we are making a portfolio. So let's delete these. And we want to put an image. Who remembers what the image tag was? Nice one. So we're going to open our thing, and we need an attribute because otherwise the page won't know what image we're putting in. So we want a source, and source is SRC. It's kind of easy to remember because you take away all the vowels off it. We put an equals and open our brackets. Now, if you're using Visual Studio, which is what I like, it'll kind of give you a drop-down menu. I know my image is in my assets folder, and I want to use this image here. Depending on what image you have, you'll follow. This is called the path, by the way. So you know when you open a folder and if I click here, this is a path as well. So same kind of logic goes behind it. Anyway, we'll close that. And that's an image setup. So I'm just going to do the same thing for another 3. And please, during this time, ask any questions. If there's anything that you feel a bit blocked with, let me know. Everybody happy so far? Okay, cool. So one thing I'd like to, you have to put it before the div and body. No, you have to put it inside the div and body. So, oh, you mean these ones? Okay, so remember the child and parent thing. So our body opens up on line 15 and it closes on line 31. We've got a div, which means division, which has a class, which basically sets some styling options. And we want our images to be in that division so that they will be affected by that class. One thing that I've forgot to do here is that I forgot to add a class to the image, because in our styling sheet, I had added a flex item. So we're going to call these class equals flex item, and we're going to add this to all of them. Or how many images you've got. So cool. Save. So you might see on your side here, you've got U's and M's, and what does it mean? So M stands for modified. So we've modified our code. I can't quite remember what U stands for, but it's basically when there's a new, we've added these images recently. So if we go back to our GitHub, you can see here that it's added these changes. So let's add these changes to our website online. So we're going to say added photos for online portfolio. So like this, we've got a comment. We click commit to main. We're all together. So I'm going to click commit to main. So we've committed to those changes. There are ways of going back, but just be careful when you're committing. And here we've got the same button as before, push to origin. So remember, push, you're pushing it back to the internet, to the web, and pull, you can do pull requests as well. So if you're working on it online, you can pull the changes to your local device. So we're going to push it because it was up. Okay, that's all done. And again, it takes its time to adjust because it's not so instant, but if we go back to our GitHub repositories, this one here, you will see that we've made 2 commits a minute ago. So I'm just going to check, go back to the website, see if it's done the commits. It hasn't yet. Aha, here we go. So you can see here, it's given me my 3 images for my portfolio. Are we all together? Yes. So you can see that the title up here has changed to website workshop. You can see that we've added these images, that they're nice. It's a kind of a nice layer. Maybe what I might want to do is put this square one in the middle instead of, so that it has a sort of balance. But this is the main change we're going to do to our index page. We are now going to move on to our about page. So this is where we're going to do a little bit of writing, not too much, just with a short bio, a short CV. We'll then move on to our contact page. So for how people can get in touch with us, and then we'll wrap up and you can experiment more with this website, which is what I'm hoping for. So let's go back into Visual Studio Code. I'm going to shift around those images just because for balance reasons. And we're moving into the about. So does everybody have their about.html? My website didn't change. Hey, see, it's me. Deeper, it does take a little bit of time to adjust. It's not an instantaneous change. Did you, you know what? It might have been, it's probably my mistake that I forgot to tell you all to click save. So I'm on PC, what I click is Control S. So if you're on PC, click Control S on your files. So if your file, I'm just going to change something quickly. Okay, you see here, you've got this little round circle and you've got it up here. That means that your file is not saved. So please, 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 as soon as you click Control S, it disappears, and then you can do a commit. So you can see I've added a space. And the nice thing, you can see what kind of changes you do here as well. So red means you've taken that away, green means you've added it, which again, quite intuitive. You write your summary, you commit to main, you push. We all on the same page. Images are huge. Okay. So your images are huge. Okay. How big are your files? So rule of thumb with web design, you don't want anything over 72 dpi. And if they are massive, you can change the width here. So the width on your style sheet, basically, it does 20%. It should do 20% of your screen. I think I know what's happened. Have you added next to your images? So you've got image source, and then you should have this class flex item. Do you have that? Sorry, I've lost your name. Yes, I've added those. And it's inside the brackets. Do you mind if we come back to that and we can have a quick look what's going on? Excellent. Sorry about that. I just want to cover the about and the contact, and I'm just aware that we've got 9 minutes. So sorry if we're going to speed through this slightly. So in the about, we've got an about me, which you can change. I might put about my name. Excellent. And down here, we've got this class row. And we've got our tomato and green, which you might not want. So we could take that style out. I'm going to take it out. I kind of like having white and as a background color. You might want to change it completely. You might want it blue or purple. Some colors you can just type the name in and it gives you the result. Otherwise, with other text colors, you can use hex numbers if you're aware of hex numbers, or RGB numbers if you're aware of RGB numbers. Anyway, so this is where our text is going. So we've got our bio, and it's going to be in between our divs. So what I'm going to do is I want bio to be a header. And I want it to be a big header. So I'm going to say it's H1. And then I want a paragraph underneath. So I'm just going to put my paragraphs. I've got a bio somewhere where I'm just going to copy and paste it. But it can be anything. So I'm just going to copy and paste this. And that's my bio done. And it needs, as I said before, it needs to stay between the two divs, which is a division. And the same thing with the CV. So I want the CV to be in a header. In the header. And then below, I am going to have a list of things. So LI stands for list. And I'm going to say that I'm a web designer. I'm going to add a new item to my list. That I'm a recent graduate. I know this is not how you do CVs, but for the sake of time, anyway, that's my CV list. So I'm going to do a Control S to save. And my next file I want to work on is the contact file. So if you go on your contact page, you can see that it doesn't look right. Why is Instagram written and then you've got 2 images? So basically, sorry, I haven't seen the chat. Okay. So you want to add the images, which are the assets that I've added. So we're in our contact in HTML, and this is the bit you want to see. This flex container, we've got a mail to, so a tag is the tag you would use for people to click and move somewhere else. Okay, so you use your ref. When it says mail to 2 dots, it's when you know, when you're on a website, you click on the email icon and it should open your emails. And so you click and it says your email goes here. That's because that's what I've put so far. You want to change it, so I'm going to put my email here. And the image goes in between your A because that's the clickable item. Okay. And we do the same thing for the others. So we're getting rid of these lists because we want images for our contacts. So I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to do an Instagram because I don't really have a Facebook page. So a ref equals, and then I need to find my Instagram page, which I think it's just that. So I'm going to copy and paste it in here. Okay. And then I'm going to close the brackets here. In between my A tags, I want an image tag, a source, like we did before with your images. In assets, I want to use the Instagram PNG. And I want to use the correct class. So we want to say class equals and it's content flex item. And we need to close that. I'm going to delete this Instagram bit and I'm not going to have a Facebook one, but if you have a Facebook one, it's good practice. Again, Control S. And I've done all the updates I wanted to do. If you want to change stuff in the style sheet, so for example, you don't want the navigation bar to be blue, you can change the color here. So navigation background, you can change it to, let's say yellow. Yellow. When it hovers, so I don't know if you've noticed, you can hover and it changes into a darker blue. So maybe when you hover, it will turn red. And you want to change the background of your flex item, so which is currently the border of your items. You might not want one, so you can completely delete that and you won't have that border anymore. So those are the adjustments I want to make. I'm going to say update contact and about. I am going to commit to the changes I've made. I am going to push them up and I'm going to be 30 seconds patient, waiting for them to see here, 22 seconds ago. So let's see if those changes have been made. And they haven't yet. Okay, in my contact page they have. So if I click on the Instagram, it takes me to my Instagram. If I click on the phone, it asks me if I want to do a phone call, email, it opens my emails. My about has been changed, so I've got my bio here and my website here, and in home I've still got the tomato border, but that is because what is that? It might just be loading still. Excellent. So it's 5 o'clock and I'm happy to take any questions that anybody has. If you want to turn on your microphone, I would encourage you to keep on testing with this, change the font, change the font size, change the colors, be as creative as possible. You don't need to be an expert. As you can see, in less than an hour, we've set up a website, it's live, you can send it to your tutors and they'll be able to see it, or your mates or whoever. If you have any questions, please do send them over. If you want to know, hey B, I really hate the domain name, how do I change it? Well, if you want to know something, XHIBIT is hosted on GitHub pages and XHIBIT has its own domain name, so I'm happy to show you how to do that. Yeah, any questions? Okay, so that might mean, what I'm understanding from that is that it might be taking its time to reload. How do we change domain name? Okay, so when you want to change the domain name, it's not a free process. You need to buy a domain name. So I usually buy a domain name from a place called GoDaddy. Here it is. So this is the website. So let's say I want to buy a domain name that has my my name. So I want btaylorsearle.com. Let's see. So btaylorsearle.com will cost me 99p for 2-year registration. Great. You would add it on a card. You would then buy it. Once you've done all of that, you go to GitHub. On pages, you can see here, there's a custom domain. You would add the domain name here. There are other steps. Unfortunately, we don't really have time to go through all of those steps, but when you do have your website that is ready to be published, my email, I'll put it in the chat. And I'm always happy to help with coding related things. I'm going to put my normal email just because I'm conscious that my university email might expire soon. About using code. Oh, okay. So there's plenty of websites. I would start off with p5.js for art generation. There's another thing, if you're into like machine learning and the computer completely generating stuff for you, there's a thing called Runway, which I've got here, Runway. If you Google that, you'll find it, Runway ML. This is used by a lot of artists for generative arts and algorithmic sort of stuff. So I'm hoping that's what you're looking for. I totally recommend P5. I'd recommend processing. There's loads of stuff out there. Code Academy has been a lifesaver for me in terms of understanding CSS better. or HTML. Luckily, they're both very intuitive languages. Yeah, anything else? Otherwise, I'm going to stop sharing. Cool.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Bea, and to everyone for joining us today on how to make a website. Like Bea said, keep practicing, keep playing, keep doing it. You don't need to be an expert, but I think what comes through the play is your voice and what works for you. Bea has obviously very kindly put her email address in the chat. What we will do after this session is send out an email with some key links, some top tips, and Bea's email address too. So definitely feel free to stay in touch with us and send us your websites when they're done. You all have my email address and Bea's email address, so it'd be great to see. And if you need feedback from anyone, you might know some of the people in this chat too. So I'd encourage you to talk to each other and build your networks in this room. And if it was live, you'd be seeing each other, but unfortunately we don't today. A couple of things before we leave. The first is we would really love to know what you think of what we do. So I'm just going to pop a feedback form in the chat. This is something that will go out in an email as well. It just takes a couple of minutes to fill out, and it lets us know what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and what you want more or less of. These events come from your feedback. So if you have suggestions or comments, please definitely put them down in there. Like I said, it only takes a couple of minutes to fill out, but it's really important for us to make sure that these work for you. And the last thing is, I'm just going to share our What's On page. There you will find our last event for XHIBIT, which is the artist panel Meanings and Motivations. We'll have our two curators talking to artists from XHIBIT about what it was like to create work during lockdown and what it means to be a young artist today. And young we use in the broadest sense, not just in terms of age, but emerging artists. It should be a really wonderful panel. So if you do have time and you would like to, please join us for that. And that's it from us. Thank you again, Bea, what a wonderful tutorial. And yeah, any questions, please get in touch with us, but we will see you soon. We'll leave this on for a few minutes as you leave. But yeah, it's great to see you all. Have a lovely, balmy Monday evening. See you later, Mia. Thanks for being here. Thanks, everyone. See you later. Bye. Oh, great. I'm just gonna